think that one thing that the school did for teachers was they made it really clear that it was okay to try technology in your room, and it was okay to use time in your class. That yes, you were going to fail and mess up, but that was all right.
Right.
You know, because you can't be so focused on a test or using class time for a certain thing. It would be too restrictive, and the teachers wouldn't have felt comfortable just jumping in and doing it. We have a really good setup here, but we all know it's not without problem. The school did provide us technology that worked. Like the netbooks, they acknowledged this isn't working. And they came in and spent money and bought us the twists in science. They spent money redoing the wireless. So they recognized, and they didn't just push it off on the teachers as, oh, you don't know how to do that. It was, we know there's a problem. So they do work to give us, as best they can, technology that works. It's not perfect, and it never will be, because we don't have an unlimited budget.
I think him coming to us and saying, what is it that you need, when it was time to replace the notebooks. And you know, he kind of had an idea of what he wanted to replace them with, but he came to us and asked.
So teaching,
right.
And we definitely
said, we don't want what you want us to have, and we would much rather have this other, and he was happy after a while.
Yes.
Yes.
I know y'all mentioned that he asked y'all. He didn't really ask me, but the beginning for me was just checking out the notebook carts in the library, you know, the time about 5 years ago. I saw the difference that it made in my classroom with the excitement of the kids, all of them being engaged when the technology worked, all of them being engaged. It freed up my time to walk around the classroom, and discipline referrals went down because kids they like technology. For me, when I saw the difference it made in my classroom, I was like, how could I incorporate learning.com with my regular lessons?
Right.
And so every time I'd hand out a paper, every time I'd show a YouTube video or a Discovery Ed, it's also on learning.com, I would upload it and begin to build a portfolio. And so today I use everything that we created 3 years ago and just modified a little bit, you know, updated a little bit, but it's been fantastic.
I know with science we used, we would get into all the different diagrams and the different simulations, to where, you know, before you would look at a picture in a textbook.
Right.
And now you had the entire thing, sometimes you know, dimensions added to it, and they could manipulate and click and drag and add things, and it became real.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the things that really stood out in my mind of, wow, this is powerful.
Today, we've taken learning.com and combined it with Google Classroom, slides, and all that. And the kids, it's so cool because the kids, and you guys know this, but they work together on the same thing. It might be a learning.com activity or lesson, but they're working together to turn it in. It's pretty cool.
I think collaboration a lot of time in the classroom is better when they collaborate with technology than if they're just at a table. I think that it's much easier for one or two group members to kind of just check out at a table, because you know, you'll have one or two people who are very aggressive and they take over. But in technology, if everybody's working on one thing together and they all have assigned roles, it's harder for that big personality to overtake, because everybody's got their own part.
I think the best thing in my own classroom and in your classroom, when I did the frog dissection and we commented and we videoed it so that the students saw how to do things, and I talked them through it. Every group had a computer on their lab table, and it gave me and Misty both an opportunity to have discussions about the frog instead of how do I do this.
It's kind of
Huge.
like flipped instruction, but we flipped it inside our classroom. So our conversations with kids were about what you were learning, not how to do
Concept.
something. It's the power of not having to tell a class, 25 times how to do something, instead of having a conversation about what's happening in the lab, which is what you want.
Right.
Rewind to see
and
how
watch that
to,
again.
and then we'll
Yeah.
talk about it.
Yes, it's like, it was like you cloned yourself.
Yeah.
And there was one of you at each lab table doing the how-to, but you were walking around actually making
fantastic.
them learn.
Yes.
They have access at home.
And DAP and ISS
Right.
Yes.
and absent students.
Yes.
And homebound.
It just, it's fantastic.
Now we have Google Classroom, which is awesome because you can create a classroom for a kid who was absent, or a classroom for a kid that is going to be out for an extended period of time for whatever reason. And you can put assignments in there
Specifically
and talk
for that
back and
child.
forth,
Right.
specifically for that one kid, to talk back and forth. And before you had that, it was just scattered and all over the place, and you're like, oh, wait, we forgot to do this, and you try to pull them at tutorials or somewhere to get it all caught up. And with technology, that problem just disappeared. And the absent, if kids are absent, then that assignment's still right there.
It's right
And when
there.
you go back, you're like, you never turned this in, you need to do this.
Right.
Nobody forgets their name on the paper.
That's huge.
Formative assessment is, again, one of those things that goes to a whole different level with technology. It started at middle school, actually, with Miss Ragland forever
Yes.
ago. I don't know how many years ago, when she had
The clickers.
classroom
Yes.
performance clickers,
Right.
where you could put multiple choice and it would project how many people got it right or wrong. And I started that a long time ago with vocabulary. And so I would do vocabulary activities at the beginning of class, kind of like your ELL. And I would immediately realize kids have no idea what I'm talking about.
Right.
And when I moved with Monica, I moved from 5th to 7th grade science. We started doing it together, and I remember one day you ran in my room and you're like, I cannot believe this. I thought that they would surely know what these words mean, because it was the beginning of a unit, and you were like, they have no idea what I'm talking about. And I go, what? Because I hadn't given it yet. And so I gave it, and I'm like, me neither. I can't tell them now. They don't know any of these words. And so then you know where to start.
Right.
You're like, we're starting from
So
the
good.
beginning. You do not understand what an atom is, or you don't understand the difference between an atom and a molecule. I'm gonna stop and we're gonna go
Right.
back here because
Right.
something got missed. I mean, the reteaching power that it gives you. And now we have Kahoot, Socrative, Formative. The list could go forever. I think even PlayPosit, our video thing, a video where we make quizzes from video, has it now, where you can do real time and watch them answer
Right.
and see if they're understanding what you're talking about.
So before technology, you could not assess that.
You guess.
You just,
Yeah. Well, you could give formative assessment, but it was on paper. So you gave it,
right.
you taught, then you graded it. And if we're honest, sometimes it didn't happen that day. Sometimes you went back the next week and then you're like, I taught for 2 days and nobody knew what these words mean. So, but that's huge. You have to find the balance, because technology won't replace a good teacher. You can't have a computer program that will teach a class as well as if you have a good teacher who uses technology in the room. You can keep your personal connection with the kids.
It's been worth every single bump that we've hit along the
Absolutely.
way for the last 5 years. It's all the
Yes.
effort, it's been worth it. To see the rewarding. It's been very
Some people don't see the
End result.
the end result, and that's why you need the teachers who could at the beginning recognize what could happen in their classroom, and they champion it. When they are successful, and and other teachers who couldn't see that at the beginning look around, they
They'll
go,
piggyback on that.
because not everybody's going to have the vision
Right.
they're not going to see the vision of what it can do.
And also the younger generation, I just have to throw this in there because when Miss Johnson came in, she came in midstream. And we already had lessons on learning.com. She took it and absolutely now I get her lessons off learning.com and she uses my lessons. She just took it and went with it. And so she's been phenomenal.
It hasn't been that long since we were there with our kids.
Right.
And I just, things have just changed so quick.
And
the way that,
changing.
yes, continuing.
Constantly
Constantly.
changing.
Well, like the virtual sandbox. Now we're actually, that's the first venture into an actual virtual reality to teach kids something where they can touch it and see.
I had one of my ELL students that when she was in there and she's playing in the sand and everything's coming, all the projections coming down, and as she's building her mountain, we're looking at contour lines on the side, and she finally looked at me, she went, her eyes got up this big, and she says, I understand steepness. And it was just kind of like one of those, wow. Yeah.
Because she would have never understood that
And,
without that.
and we have been using that in the classroom, that term, for 3 class periods. Could you imagine going back to not having it?
No.
No.
No.